Hopefully by now you understand what the bond market is all about. Is about the control of the bankers over the national debt. It's the control of the bankers over your currency. It's the control of the bankers over you. And we don't need bankers to be happy, to produce, to exchange, and do business with each other. Tuesday, May 30th, 2023, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. I see a lot of people out there saying they need to pass this debt ceiling deal. They need to increase the debt. We can't allow everything to collapse. It would hurt billions even throughout the world, not just the United States. Well, I want to talk about this today and give you my opinion on why it would be the best thing to do. And before I do, I like to let you know that yesterday I did a really nice interview. I was live on the UNN show with David Clews from Unity News Net. It was on Rumble. He used to be on YouTube, but his channel was canceled, deleted a couple of years ago. Yeah, I recommend you watch my my chat with David Clews. He's really on top of things. He's based here in the UK. And I'll put a link to it below in the description so you can go onto Rumble. I think he posts in other platforms, and he's also on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, he's got about 42,000 followers on Twitter. And the reason why I'm mentioning him as well is that we did talk about all the debt and the system collapsing, and he thinks it would be the best thing for the whole system collapsing because he understands the fiat currency system, how central banking works, and he knows that it would be the best thing for individuals, for individual freedom. And he said something really interesting. He said that well, he gave an analogy. For example, if you had an injury and your finger got really infected and it was really bad and it was spreading to your body and it might kill you, the best thing to do would be to cut the finger, amputate the finger to save you. And I think, yes, it's not very nice to cut a finger off, but there's a choice to cut it off or die. And I think this is what this debt ceiling situation is. The national debt is becoming unsustainable. I've seen here that Zero Hedge has written about it, that the cuts they're promising in real inflation adjusted terms are actually increases. So it looks like Kevin McCarthy has, he's back down, and he's willing to allow this bidenomics to be implemented, this 2030 agenda to be implemented in the US. And that's why I think, a collapse of the whole system would be good. We'll have to see what happens. I think they're going to vote on it on Wednesday. And it's important for the whole world because I see here that the Labour Party is proposing to force landowners to sell their land at lower prices. So it looks like they're coming after the farmers here too. If Labour get in, of course, at the next general election, I think it's next year. And even their shadow chancellor, this is the individual that would be the chancellor of the exchequer if the Labour Party was in power. Her name's Reeves. She said she embraces bidenomics as blueprint for a Labour government. So God help us if we get bidenomics in this country. Things are already quite bad with the collapse of the currency. And I'm not surprised. It's all coming home to roost, like I've told you for many years. And I'm not saying I told you so. And I wasn't predicting it. I was just looking at the consequence of all the deficit spending, of all the easy money. It never lasts forever. And we see here that the inflation is not going to stop. And by inflation, I mean the rising prices. It's going to get worse because policymakers, central bankers, they don't know what they're doing, and hopefully things will collapse. So we had today UK shop price inflation, or UK prices actually. That's the other thing they do. They keep calling price rises inflation. But anyway, rises to record high. Industry data show. So the British Retail Consortium, BRC, says that the cost of shop items rose to an annual rate of 9% last month from 8.8% in April. So how did the CPI drop last month, according to the government? Well, you know how manipulated these numbers are. But anyway, it's not going to get better. And yes, and here I am talking about the politics, the left and right, conservatives, Labor, Republican, Democrats. And it's just a distraction. And I'm going to reference a book that is controversial. And I don't agree totally with everything Captain Ramsey said back in the 50s. I think he wrote this book. It's called The Nameless War. It's a book that's controversial, but he talks about the creation of the Bank of England in 1694. And this is what he says on page 17. The political and economic union of England and Scotland was shortly afterwards forced upon Scotland with wholesale corruption and in defiance of formal protest from every county and borough. The main objects of the union were to suppress the royal mint in Scotland. Well, why is that? Well, because Scotland still had control of its coinage through the royal mint. And now you had a Bank of England, you had to impose the fiat currency. Well, and it wasn't, it was fiat currency system because the Bank of England could create money out of thin air even back then. They had to impose the bankers' control on Scotland. And am I saying that I'm for Scottish independence? Maybe, but I'm not sure that the Scots would go to back to a sound money system now. Who knows? But anyway, let's continue. And to force upon her, that's Scotland, to responsibility, and here's the key, responsibility for the national debt. So there you go, without a central bank imposed as a monopoly by the government, it's impossible to have a national debt because the purpose of the central bank is to keep this national debt going with its member banks. It's all, and they control the bond market, the gilt market, the treasury market. So that's why I'm saying if we, if the people in Congress have the cojones to let this thing go, it would be the best thing ever. And this is what he says. The grip of the moneylender was now complete throughout Britain. And here's the interesting part. The danger was that the members of the new joint parliament would sooner or later, in the spirit of their ancestors, challenge this state of affairs. Well, they didn't. They did do it, though, in the colonies about 75 years later, right? And that's why there's so many of the founding fathers that were against central banking. And this is what he says: to provide against this, therefore, the party system was now brought into being, frustrating true national reaction and enabling the wire pullers to divide and rule. Using their newly established financial power to ensure that their own men and their own policies should secure the limelight and sufficient support from their newspapers, pamphlets, and banking accounts to carry the day. Captain Ramsey was an MP and he was imprisoned for 4 years during World War II by Winston Churchill. Yeah, he wasn't allowed to speak. So there you go. That's why I'm saying it would be best for everything to collapse, really. Because I think what they want to do is keep it going for maybe another 3-4 years if they can, because the debt is getting unsustainable. But then they'd have even more control of you, and they'd be able to impose their Agenda 2030, their CBDCs. So I think if it does collapse, they're not prepared for it. So that's why I'm saying it would be the best thing to happen. Anyway, let's quickly look at the markets this morning. It's 8:15 a.m. London time. So we've got spot gold at 1938.50. That's down about $4. Low has been 31. The high's been 47. And again, I wouldn't want to get rid of my gold and silver right now. This is it, guys. I think we're very close to some kind of event. And even if they can continue to have their grips of debt around our necks, it will eventually come off, even if they keep the control. But it's a way of protecting yourself financially, you and your family, and even friends, if possible. So we've got silver at 23.07. That's down about 10 cents. To the stock market, well, the indices are down about very little, actually, nothing to report. They're negligible drops here. To the currencies, sterling is down slightly, 123.47. The euro is down about 0.2 though, at 106.87. And yeah, that's really it in terms of the currencies. There's not that much move. Let's quickly look at the commodities, see if there's anything going on here. Yeah, WTI crude is down about 0.75% at 72.40. Brent is down 0.5%, 76.50. High grade copper is down just under 1% at 365. Platinum, I know a lot of you like platinum, and it is a precious metal, of course. That's up $4, around 1,030. And back to that banker-controlled market, the government bond market. And yes, if everything does implode, don't be fooled into thinking that the best thing to do is to buy government bonds. No, government bonds are going to vanish from the earth if for some reason it happens and the national debt is defaulted upon. There won't be a market for US Treasuries. There won't be a market for UK gilts. And hopefully there won't be a market for European government bonds. It will be like the sovereign debt crisis that we had in Europe amongst the Mediterranean countries. We saw the 10-year yield, I think, in Greece go to 40%. That basically means it's just finished. And we could see that happen. It would be truly amazing. It would scare the majority of people. They think it's the end of the world, but it's actually the beginning of a really, hopefully, good age, because it still depends upon the individual what we do. It doesn't mean that things will be honky-dory if everything collapses. We still need to work on things, because yeah, there's not going to be anyone there to help us. We need to help ourselves. Anyway, let's see where these bond markets are. The 2-year gilt yield is at 450. It's up 1 basis point. So it seems to be a little bit under control, but yeah, the 10 years unchanged at 433, and the 30 years at 465. To the US Treasury market, the 1-month yield is at 5.79, so it's dropped below 6. We've got the 2-year yield at 4.56, down 2.8. basis points, and the 10-year is down 5 at 376. Hopefully by now you understand what the bond market is all about. Is about the control of the bankers over the national debt. It's the control of the bankers over your currency. It's the control of the bankers over you. And we don't need bankers to be happy, to produce, to exchange, and do business with each other. The reason why it seems like we do right now when they talk, oh, you need credit, you need to be banked, you need a bank, is because they've taken over it so badly. They've used this phony fiat currency to buy everything up. So that's why everything is so unaffordable. But I would say in a world without the bankers' control of the national debt and with no national debt, we could see great potential for the general public, not for them, of course. And that's why they're going to fight tooth and nail to the end to keep this going. So with that, I'm going to wish you all a very good start to the shortened work week. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.